What's up YouTube, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. Today we are doing a build video and we're breaking down my rigger build. Our tech build that has been pretty fun to use. I don't use too many tech builds, usually DPS guy, but I found this build to be pretty fun. So we're going to start off going through what our specialization is, and as you can already guess, with most tech builds I am using Technician. Main reason being I get +1 skill tier, which is obviously awesome. I get some extra damage to drones, robotics, all that good stuff. And I even get, should be somewhere over here, extra skill damage for my skills, which would be very beneficial. There's little bonuses here and there, but they're not as significant as those three that I just mentioned. Now, that being our specializations, talk about our weapons. And of course, we're using the main god tier, I guess you can say, weapon that you will use for a tech build, which is a capacitor. Now, why do we use the capacitor for most tech builds? Well, because of the talent. The capacitance. Let's go through it. Shooting enemies build stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack grants 1.5 skill damage. After 5 seconds, stacks decay 1 per second. That's the first part of this talent, right? So, when we are shooting enemies, we build stacks. Obviously, one stack, as it says, is 1.5% skill damage. We multiply 40 by 1.5, and when we have max stacks, we are doing an extra 60% skill damage when using the capacitor. Now with that, we also get 7.5 weapon damage for each yellow core. So as you can see on the build, we have 5 on our items and 1 with our specialization, so that is 6 yellow cores. So 6 times 7.5 gives us an extra 45% weapon damage. So our skills are getting a little buffed, our weapon is getting buffed. Obviously a great weapon to use when running a tech build. Now with that, I'm also using the test subject. I tend to flip-flop between these weapons when in a fight, mostly just because of reloading. But with this weapon, we have our talent perfectly in sync. Hitting an enemy grants plus 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with the skill grants plus 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So what does this mean? When we hit an enemy, we gain some skill damage. When we hit an enemy with our weapon, we gain skill damage. When we hit an enemy with our skill, or just using our skill, we get extra weapon damage. So if we do both of these at once, we will get 40% instead of 20%. So we get an extra 40% skill damage and an extra 40% weapon damage when using the test subject. That obviously won't stack with the capacitor unless I somehow build all the stacks with the capacitor and then switch over to my test subject. That would be, that's where I would kind of gain the benefits. But as you can see, after 5 seconds with the capacitor, every second a stack goes away, so you will never fully be at that full stacks with both weapons for long. But it is a nice combo. Now that we get off weapons, as usual, unless you're running like a pistol build, you can run whatever you want as your third. But now let's get into the gear set. So we're running a rigger mask, chest piece, gloves, knee pads. Now why are we running the chest? First, let's go through the actual rigger talents. 2-piece, we get 15% skill haste. 3-piece, we get 15% skill duration. 4-piece, we get the talent tend and befriend. Interacting with your deployed skills grants the skill 25% skill damage for 10 seconds. This buff cannot be refreshed, meaning if I activate this buff, right, I tell my drone to shoot something, and within 5 seconds I command it to shoot something else, it's not going to refresh this. It's still going to go all the way down until the buff is over, and then I have to activate it again. So these interactions are just interactions, kind of self-explanatory, right? Using and deploying your skill, changing the target, or healing it. Now, the reason why I'm using the chest piece is for the chest piece talent Best Buds. Increase the damage buff from 25% to 50%. So as you can see here, deploying or interacting gives us 25. With the chest piece, it will give us 50% skill damage, which obviously you would want some more damage. Now, we are not running the backpack. The backpack kind of gives you, I guess you can say, almost an instant cooldown. I don't feel it's really necessary for these skills. I think that's more necessary if you're using something like an oxidizer, something that you use one and done and you need it back quickly. Whereas with these, I use them and they last the whole fight because I'm increasing my duration on the skills. So I don't really need that instant like reset. But with that being said, we're using our force multiplier named bag from the Hana U brand set. One piece gives us some skill haste, and as you can see, I switched that yellow core to a red core, mostly because I don't need it. I don't need 7 skill tiers. It would benefit my my turret, because my turret can overcharge at 7, but I don't think it's really necessary to have that overcharge every once in a while, whereas I can almost have consistent increased skill damage for both my skills. So the talent for the force multiplier is perfect combined arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. So obviously after 3 seconds, shooting an enemy again, you'll increase my skill damage by 30%. And as you can see here, we're kind of just stacking talents to increase our skill damage. So essentially, if I'm running the capacitor and I have my full capacitor stacks up and then I activate this, I'm essentially giving myself an extra 90% skill damage. Now if I'm doing this with the test subject, I'll be getting an extra 70% skill damage. So it's obviously pretty awesome, something you want to do. And I give myself that extra weapon damage just to have it. It wouldn't hurt. You can definitely switch that to a blue core, because the survivability isn't the best. You definitely need to position yourself right, have yourself in the right places, engage your fights correctly. You gotta be a little smart, because as you can see, less than 1 million armor, you will get beamed, absolutely beamed. Now, the next piece that we are running here will be our waveform. Waveform is an awesome tech holster with the talent alternating current. Generate a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. So that's an extra 30% skill damage. After 10 seconds at the cap, the stacks transfer to your other skill. This process then repeats ad infinitum. Wow, I've said this so many times in my head and I've never pronounced this out loud. But with that being said, that's an extra 30% skill damage that will rotate between my skills. So my striker drone will have an extra 30% skill damage because of the holster. And then after 10 seconds, it will transfer over to my turret. Then after 10 seconds, it will transfer over back here. And it will keep going until the fight is over. This will only be activated during the fight. The moment we're out of the fight, this will not be activated. So, with that being said, now let's think about all these stacks. If we're using the capacitor with the bag, with the holster, everything at max stacks, we are getting 120% more skill damage. Now if we're doing that with the test subject, the bag, and the holster, we're getting 100% skill damage. So our skill damage is increasing. Sometimes I barely have to do anything. Once I end up building stacks with the weapons and I'm going in, I can literally sit there and just let my abilities finish the fight. It's pretty cool. Obviously kind of cheesy, it could be a little boring, but it's pretty cool. Now obviously with our skills, we're using the striker drone at a tier 6 with 100% striker damage, 420% health, with the same stats for our turret. Now if you want to see my actual stats, I'll bring you here. As you can see here with the turret, I have 53% skill haste, my cooldown's 15 seconds, duration is 340 seconds with 5.5 million health, 109,000 damage. PvP, obviously this is probably not something you're using PvP. And here is my drone, same thing, numbers are relatively the same for the most part, off give or take by a little bit. Now just to give you a quick rundown so you can see everything here, you can see my attributes for my weapon. Test subject, I do have damage to armor and not damage to targets out of cover because the weapon came with that max stat. I needed to bring that assault rifle damage up because it was almost at the bottom. And damage to armor is a good replacement for damage to targets out of cover. You obviously can't switch the attributes for the capacitor. This is what my mask is looking like with a skill duration mod. My backpack, same thing, skill duration mod. And my chest piece, same thing, skill duration mod. And as you can see, all of my pieces are switched to skill damage, with skill haste thrown in some of them, and of course duration. But that's pretty much it. This is my rigger build. I will show you some gameplay right now. I know you guys requested some on my last build for Hunter's Fury, but here's some gameplay of me going through heroic content. It's obviously a build you can use in heroic content. It just may not be most fun. I am personally a DPS person, so pumping out lots of damage is my go-to. But for my tech players out there, this is my rigger build. Comment down below, let me know what your rigger build looks like. What would you swap out? What would you replace? Because I would like to test it. Division has a lot of complexity to it. You can make builds in so many ways, and it's the best part about this game. So comment down below, click the like button if you guys like the video, and enjoy.